Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 116 of the F.Reality Podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can also catch the show live in VR using Big Screen TV. The show goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Spotify. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. Now it's time for me to introduce you to the team. First up, this guy's been hitting the headlines in Belgium this week. He's a local celebrity known for his scooter stunts and VR videos. It's, of course, the Rowdy guy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm mostly known for my scooter stunts, so not really my YouTube videos, I think. But no, indeed, like I got featured in one of the bigger Belgian newspapers for being the biggest Belgian VR YouTuber. Little do they know that there's only one, probably. So jokes on them. But no, it was a very fun interview, and you get to meet some new people. That's always nice to do so. So yeah, I'm doing.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's awesome to be in the spotlight, especially like you say in your local area, because predominantly I'd imagine your audience is probably American.
Yeah.
So definitely. It's nice to get recognized locally for your work.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is very, very cool. So next up, this guy is a mysterious character. Very few people know of his origin. All they know is that he has a master plan to take over the world. It's our very own G-Man. It's Nathie. How you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah, I am. Do I look like the G-Man?
Yeah. Just look into the camera directly for a moment. Like, don't smile. Look angry.
Angry. Yes, he is the G-Man. He's got that like pale face.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Well, if it's really dark in this room, you can only see my eyes, and then I stare into your soul. So,
yeah.
Okay.
So there you go. We've got the G-Man on the podcast this week. You're very fortunate to have him. Sadly, Zim won't be joining us this week. After all the news, he's got a condition known as overhyperitis, and he's been ordered by the doctor to stay at home. So, he'll be with us back again on next week's show. Last but by no means least, myself, the host of the show, Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis. Of course, we've got an epic show lined up for you today. Some of the highlights include some amazing deals on VR hardware for Black Friday, which is going to be awesome. Oculus Link beta launches. We discuss our thoughts and cable recommendations. Nathie's going to be covering for Zim to give you the latest releases to look forward to next week. And then finally, we'll be talking about the huge bomb that Valve dropped this week, which is, of course, Half-Life Alyx. I still can't believe this is actually real. Can you guys believe this is real?
Well, I'm starting to believe it.
It's freaking exciting. It's the stars have aligned.
Yeah. I feel like after years of joking about it on this very show, the fact that we're actually talking about it and it's legit is just amazing.
But it's the funniest part is that we knew there was going to be a Half-Life game coming in VR, but then it finally happened. It's like, oh, this can't be real.
The sad part is that we have to bury a joke. We can no longer say Half-Life confirmed. Ha 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 ha. Because it's actually happened.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss that joke now.
The meme is dead. Yeah. But first up, let's find out what everyone's been playing and the highlight of the week this week. And of course, feel free to join in the chat as well. We love to read out what you've been playing too. But let's pass it over to Rowdy first. See what you've been up to and what's your highlight this week then, dude.
Yeah, well, there's only one thing that I've played this week, and that was actually Vader Immortal, and I think you played that as well, Mike. So
yeah,
we can chip in a little bit together about what we thought about that one. Sure. I do think it's a lot better than the second one. There's a lot more stuff happening. There's more variety in the different kind of scenes. Maybe it's a little bit longer, but it's still like roughly the same length as like 1 and 2. For me, like the surprise effect that I had in like the first one, it's not there anymore. Obviously, you know, like it's not as novel as it was the first one. The things I liked about it, I'll start with that one, is that there's much more stuff going on with your lightsaber. On the contrary, the stuff with the Force is almost completely dropped away. It's only once or twice you actually need to use it. So that's a little bit, okay. But the lightsaber stuff I liked a lot again. I like it that there's like some more, I'm not going to spoil anything about like, you know, the actual events that are happening. But there's just much more going on. You see more stormtroopers. You get a bigger kind of fight. That brings me a little bit to the bad things. I kind of wish that the fight was bigger, that I was more in the middle of it as well. Like since it's all like kind of happening more of a distance. And then I did like the ending a lot. Like the ending, the very ending, since there's like kind of like 2 endings, not different endings, but just like progress, like the after ending, like I call it. I did like that a lot, since at least a lot of roads open. But it did highlight a little bit like the limits as well of it, like in the sense that it's more of like an on rails kind of experience, and I found this more noticeable than in the first or the second one, because it's more like move now to this spot and move now to that spot, let this scene play out and then move on to the next spot. And it did feel a little bit more on rails than I would have liked it to be. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with most of the points you've made there. And I think it's a shame really, because like I was looking forward to Vader Immortal a lot, like the finale of it. But with everything else that's going on in the VR industry this week, it kind of got overshadowed by everything. And that's the same deal with Espire 1 and the Under Presents as well, which is a shame, especially for the Under Presents, because I think it was kind of going to be a title that not many people were going to hear about anyway. But obviously with the big news of Half-Life, they all kind of got buried. But I did get to play it as well. And just like you, I won't spoil anything about the story, but it took me probably about 40 minutes to finish, which is... Yeah, about the same as the first episode, a bit more than the second one. The second one was fairly short. But like you said, some of the epic things about this episode were that, you know, you do some funky things with a lightsaber that you've not seen before. And also, I don't know if you noticed this, but you can also force grab blasters off stormtroopers, and you can actually use the blaster.
Yeah, I did use a blaster, but I didn't know I could actually grab them, because that felt no real reason in order to do that, because your lightsaber is just so powerful.
Exactly. It's just kind of a bit novel just to use a different weapon for a change.
True.
But you know, like you, overall, I was kind of happy with the finale, but I did find like the bit that everything's been building up to was a bit anticlimactic.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
So,
did you encounter any like game-breaking bugs, by the way?
I didn't encounter any bugs, but I did certainly notice more so in this episode, like you mentioned, that you have to like move to certain points to see a cinematic play out, and then you can get involved. Because
I couldn't like finish the game the regular way. Like there is a certain point where you need to go down a hatch and you need to climb there. But every time I climbed down, like I would end up in between 2 floors, and I would just have to go to the main menu and then select the next scene.
It's funny actually, because as you mentioned it, I know exactly what point you were referencing
to. Okay.
I thought I was going to drop down, but like you say, you actually have to climb. And because I was playing on the index using Revive, I thought it was a bug of me using the index. But yeah, I eventually worked out you have to grab that rail and lower yourself down.
Yeah, but when I did that,
you were stuck.
At a certain point, I got stuck, and I did it 2 times in a row, and then I was like, okay, like, screw this, I'm not gonna replay this again, and. So I don't know why, but for me that happened 2 times in a row, that I was climbing down, and then at a certain point I want to like, okay, I think this is far down enough, and I'll let go, and then it goes like, whoop, and I'm like stuck in between the 2, and I see like everything playing out, and I see like some stormtroopers like flying in the distance.
That's weird. That's really weird. I don't know what
that was.
So after these 3 episodes, because it's now complete, was it good? Was it bad? Because comparing like everything together, not just episode 3, everything like
Yeah.
Personally, I thought episode 1 freaking epic, totally nailed it. Second one, super disappointing, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Then the third one that I still haven't played yet, I think, yeah, I don't know. Maybe as you said, if the story is satisfying enough, but okay, then I think it's okay. But
yeah, I think overall, like the attention to detail is great, and like being in a Star Wars game in VR is awesome. Like being in the Star Wars universe, like the music is amazing, the sound, the voice acting is incredible, the animation is great. And I think for a first VR Star Wars VR title, I think they did a good job. I hope it really like paves the way for more. Something like The Mandalorian, that's really popular right now on Disney Plus would be epic as a VR series as well. So I really hope that it's got that sort of like that people enjoyed it enough to encourage them to make more of it. But yeah, I think overall it was good. I wouldn't say it was like amazing,
but this was a VR experience in the end. And what you're talking about with Mandalorian, and I'm totally down for that, is an actual game. This wasn't a game, this was a movie you were playing. So I would love to see like something what we see with Jedi Fallen Order right now, an actual game, but you need to level up, you need to do this, you need to do that. This was cool, but I want to see a actual game.
I think to a certain degree, like because this game was kind of aimed at newcomers, getting newcomers on board. I think it's almost like catered to the newcomer.
It shows because it's a flagship. It's getting promoted like that. Of course, Star Wars gets a lot of people into VR, but I do want to see something bigger. With Star Wars, this was nice, but there is so much more going on. We haven't really seen anything Star Wars VR related that was truly a game. We have seen, of course, the X-Wing mission on PlayStation VR. That was interesting for sure.
Yeah.
And then we had Star Wars Trails on Tatooine, I think.
Yeah.
That gave me the idea of like, oh, this is going to, maybe a little bit open world, a little bit exploration, stuff like that. That didn't happen in the end. It was more of a demo to show up what was possible. And then we, of course, had the Disney app where you could check out some 360s, and they had some minor gameplay. But I would love to see Mandalorian in VR. This was good, but I'm looking for something more ambitious in that sense. Almost like, let's say, Star Wars, like we have seen with Half-Life Alyx, something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I'm playing Jedi: The Fallen Order at the same time, and there's a lot of Star Wars stuff going on as well, like with The Mandalorian, new movies coming out soon. There's a lot of Star Wars going on, and it is kind of a bit disappointing when you jump from Jedi: The Fallen Order to like Vader Immortal, because there's just so much in that game. But like I said, I think it feels more like it's catered to
it had a different target, and that's what it reflects.
And also like if you the thing that makes Vader Immortal so cool is that you get to see Darth Vader firsthand, like there, and you get to be into that Star Wars universe. But after that is kind of gone, the second and the third episode make much less sense, just because you don't have that original feeling of like, oh wow, I'm actually in this Star Wars cockpit. I can touch Darth Vader, and like, that came out wrong.
I wonder if we'd have been happier if it had released all episodes at the same time and it was just one long game. Because I think overall you probably would have enjoyed it more as a package that way. Than playing it piecemeal like they released it. But
I agree. I think that if Oculus is going to target a bit more, but they're now building, of course, a community, so I get it. But let's say if there is actually a big enough of a player base, hopefully we are then going to see games that are, let's say, targeted towards that audience, because you can definitely see the difference between something that is targeted towards people who are just buying into a Quest, buying into a Rift, and something that is more, ambitious in that sense and is a little bit more on the edge, like Asgard's Wrath, for example.
I do think it's like a great addition to like the Oculus Rift library, just in general, because it's indeed like, if you just get an Oculus Quest or you just get an Oculus Rift, that'd probably be one of the first thing that I would boot up just to see how it looks, just because it's visually so stunning. It's an interesting story. It's a nice universe. So for that reason alone, I think it's a great addition to the story in itself.
So that is our thoughts on Vader Immortal. So what about the chat? Did they have anything epic this week, or do you want to talk about what you played first?
No, we can talk about the chat. So we have a couple of people here that have been playing some games. We have Steve Drumheller, who has been playing Espire 1. He says that it's an amazing game. I have seen on Steam that it does get mixed reviews right now. I haven't checked it out myself yet. I, of course, played it at E3, but that was just a demo. So we'll
same
see.
Here.
We'll see.
Yeah, looking forward to playing that next week.
Yeah, same here. And they have, of course, the Quest one, and they have a PC version. So there's a lot going on there, PSVR. And then we have Neo, who has been playing Raw Data, and he has been reading Blake Harris' History of the Future. Then we have PD, who has been playing The Lab, getting ready for all the cool Half-Life physics. And we have also Rift S Fun. Yeah, that's his name, Rift S Fun. He has been playing Stormland. Yeah, that sounds awesome. like a fun Rift S Fun game, right? And then last but not least, we have I think he's called LPCSK. He says that he finally reached Earth in From Other Suns, but didn't beat.
Oh wow,
yet.
That's actually quite an accomplishment. I never managed to do that.
I never managed to do it either. Zim did. But yeah, I never managed to do it. But yeah, well done. That's hard.
Yes. So
and scary. Just all Sim.
Yeah.
I heard. So I didn't play that much. I have just been talking about Half-Life all the time. I was just busy tweeting about it.
I know the feeling. I've been making memes all week.
Yes. So today I actually started playing the first Half-Life game again to kind of catch up with, it's called research. It's fun research though, gotta say. It was great to dive back in. The last time I played Half-Life 1 was when I tried the mod, because there's this mod, right, where you can dive into Half-Life with a Vive, a Rift, or any PC VR headset. So I've been playing through it a little bit, and I was mainly focused on what are the characters saying, how do they feel, things like that, because that's of course what is the most fun, the story itself. So I'm kind of jumping back in, although I'm more excited for Half-Life 2 since it's a bit more up to date. Like the first one is very old and it just looks like that too, but the gameplay still holds up, right? It's challenging, and I decided to play it on easy because I just wanted to kind of get to know the characters better, and I wasn't into the hardcore stuff. But even on easy, it's
hard.
Yeah, it is quite hard. So
have you played Half-Life 2 before, or is this?
I played it before. I also played it in VR. There was like this DK2 mod for a while where you could just play it with a controller. I think there was also Hydra support for a while, but that's a long ass time ago. I played Half-Life 2 single player, and I also played it co-op because there was this mod that allowed you to play it with a friend, and I played that in VR with a friend. So that was kind of.
I have never finished any of those games just because I chickened out as a kid.
They're
so good. Like Half-Life 2 gets really dark in some parts of it, but it's really great.
It is a scary. It is a horror game for sure. Like I noticed it with Half-Life 1, even that of course it's not that scary anymore. But back in the days when Rowdy played, it was like, holy dang, this is like.
Yeah. And I remember as well, like the original Half-Life game was the first game I ever played like on LAN. Like my friend had a PC and his brother had a PC, and they were connected by a LAN. So we were able to play Half-Life multiplayer over a LAN, and it was just like the best thing ever, So it's got some real nostalgic memories.
I know back then when I played the original Half-Life, I had no such thing as the internet, so I had like no idea as a kid. Everyone was just like talking, you should try this game. So I had no idea what this was, and I played I think it was the time I played like The Sims or something like that, like some like regular, like friendly game, and I dove into that, and like as soon as those things started coming out, I was like, what the heck is all of this? Like, it proper scared me, like, because I didn't expect that to happen. My favorite part of the entire game though is the beginning. I don't think there's a single other game that has done that ever since. It's like that, just that train ride where you go like through all the different like parts of like the Black Mesa facility, except for Vertigo. Vertigo 2 does that in the demo in the beginning.
They do.
Really, I mean, that must be like a little bit of a wing to like the original Half-Life, but
it is.
That is so cool. That is so cool.
It's I really enjoyed the start of it, and the thing with it is that most of the VR games I played are quite obvious in terms of gameplay, and this one just constantly punishes you for thinking that it's all gonna be the same, that it's all gonna be, oh yeah, next corner this is gonna happen. Sometimes you have these areas where you think a big enemy is gonna spawn, and sometimes it does, but there are also moments when there's just nothing happening. You're like, this is suspicious. It's very suspicious. And that for me makes it a good game and an enjoyable game, because if I have to play, let's say, another zombie shooter or another rhythm-based VR game that I've seen pull off tricks that I've experienced before, then there is no surprise factor. And I feel like if I play a good single player, I want to really get challenged in that sense, and really think about, like, there are puzzles in there. Sometimes you're completely lost, and then at other moments it's just everything. It's like a roller coaster of like different emotions and mechanics and everything.
I think that game does a great job of building tension, and I really hope that we see that. Obviously, we're going to be talking more about Half-Life Alyx later, but
of course.
I really hope we see that in the VR game as well. But let's move into the news then, because we've got some really cool bits of news this week. The first bit of news is about that the Oculus Quest was selected as one of the best inventions of 2019 by Time magazine. Wow. This is pretty cool. They wrote they released a special edition of the magazine, which is full of all these inventions, and they wrote a little bit about the Quest, and I'll read it out. They say that the Quest might be the system that finally brings virtual reality into every home in America. Unlike older high-end VR setups, Oculus's newest device doesn't connect to a PC, although it does now with Oculus Link. We'll talk more about that later, or require any external wires. And its VR-enabled controllers and built-in motion tracking cameras allow you to safely move around a room and fully immerse yourself in games or experimental content. Consumers are clearly on board. The Quest had a sold-out release in May, and in just the first 2 weeks, Oculus sold more than $5 million of Quest apps and games. So, great little write-up from Time magazine.
Yeah, and between what other products was it like sitting? I wonder, because it was one of these, so...
Yeah, there was 100 different inventions that they highlighted, all ranging from fitness to health to productivity to transportation. Like like the boosted rev scooter was part of it, and those kind of things. But this took over the VR section. Yeah.
Well, I would say well deserved, and something that I tweeted out this week was I think that with Oculus Link, the Quest is pretty much like the infinity gauntlet of the VR industry. It's like this headset is beating all of the other headsets by far, and that's like, we haven't seen that before. It's the headset that I can always recommend to everyone. It's an all-star in that sense, where others have, but this is kind of problem, or this is what it's missing, or this is what's going on. This is just an entry-level headset that just works for almost everyone.
Yeah. I think the only thing I would say about the Quest is that it's kind of uncomfortable. Like, you have to do.
But that's fixable. If they fix that next year and they just bring out this version 2 of it, they know. I'm sure they know. But if that's out of the way, then what is going to stop this headset?
I think that's indeed, if they manage to like reduce the weight of the Oculus Quest in the next iteration, and just make it more comfortable in general, then that would be a massive upgrade.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I think, overall, this article from Time magazine, it's great to see that VR is getting more and more exposure to the mainstream consumers out there. And I think this week, probably more than ever in VR, VR has really been in the spotlight a lot this week. With
this week.
Oculus Link.
That's an understatement, Mike. That's a freaking understatement.
Yeah. So I think it's great to see that VR gets this kind of level of exposure.
Yes.
And it kind of feels like we're inching closer and closer to that tipping point of VR becoming mainstream.
It just shows that mainstream media is super important for VR. It's nice when VR gets featured on another VR website. It's nice to have another game or hardware featured on another VR channel. But if the mainstream media covers it, then it just blows up and we can see the impact straight away. So it's always welcome. Totally.
I don't think that, some of the mainstream media have been pretty negative about VR over the years, and channels like Linus Tech Tips, for example, is a classic example of how a channel can constantly beat down on VR. And then once you've got that in your mind as a consumer, maybe that's never tried it before, this legit tech channel is telling me that it's bad or it's not ready yet, then you're going to kind of always have that fixed in your mind. So I think it's nice that the tables are starting to slowly turn.
But that's also because the thing was that VR in that time period, and still kind of is, it drives views and it drives readers to talk negatively about it. And if that's the atmosphere around it, then everyone does it. So now with all this exciting news of this week and probably also what we're going to see next year, then it's suddenly driving views and to talk positively about it. So it's they just move with the trends, basically. So I've seen some people that, as you mentioned, said, VR is a gimmick, VR is no potential, VR is not cool enough, blah, blah, blah. Now suddenly it's like, it's amazing. And this is going to be it. Wow, I'm so excited. And it's just so fake. But that's the thing. That's just a part of media. And for us, that's, of course, it feels like a big thing because we are so invested into this VR industry, into this VR community. But this is the same thing with people who bought the first whatever TV or a certain computer. It's happening in every kind of community.
I guess Tesla's a good example of that as well, right? Yeah. Everyone was super skeptical, but now everyone's raging about this crazy new Cybertruck, which is great. So
don't get me started on that Cybertruck.
Yeah, another topic for another day, maybe. But maybe if you are new to VR and then maybe this is the first episode of the show you've ever listened to or watched, then we've got some awesome VR deals for you, some Black Friday deals to look forward to next week. So I've kind of highlighted the best ones that I've found so far. If you're not aware, Black Friday takes place on the 29th of November. However, these deals, some of which are starting this week already, some are running all weekend until Monday. So these are the ones we found. So first up, if you're in the market for an Oculus Rift S, you'll be happy to hear that the Rift S will be getting a price drop, making it $349 US.
Wow.
Which is $50 off the normal retail price. And that deal will be available from Thursday, the 28th of November. And you'll be able to buy that at that price from Oculus Direct, Amazon, and Best Buy. We're not sure if Europe are going to get a similar deal yet. We'll have to wait and see. But that's all that's been reported on so far. But I think, $350 for a Rift S, for what it offers, is pretty damn good. Bearing in mind, it's one of the cheapest VR headsets available on the market, but yet has got pretty much the gold standard in terms of inside-out tracking capabilities.
Yeah, but they had to drop it also because of all the features Oculus Quest got. So it could have been even a little bit lower than that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a great price.
It's still the price difference between buying a Rift S and a Quest is still very small.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning, even before we talk about it later, that Half-Life Alyx, you will be able to play this on other headsets, not just the Valve Index. So if you're wanting to invest in a headset now, the Rift S is a great choice. You'll be able to play the game with the Rift S,
especially considering we know that the guy who made Vertigo 2 has made a brilliant Oculus Rift interface just in general for the demo that he released, and he's the same kind of person who is also working on Half-Life Alyx in order to do the knockout controllers integration. So that is very promising, I think, for the Rift users as well. Of course, the best experience will likely be with the knockout controllers, but having played Vertigo 2 with the Oculus touch controllers, the new ones, I'm actually very, very excited about that.
Yeah.
It's very generous. It's very generous from Lord Gaben himself to give us the opportunity to play it with whatever headset we want. So what do you say, Mike? Thank you. Who?
Thank you, Lord Gaben. Yeah.
And
Praise
Rowdy,
be to Gaben. Praise be to Lord Gaben.
There we go. Had to be said.
So the next headset I'm going to be talking about, more of an entry-level headset, and that's the Oculus Go, because that's also getting a $50 price drop.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
so the 32 gigabyte version is only $149 US, and the 64 gigabyte version will be $199 US, which I think is a great price. Like the Go is a really great headset. I know it's kind of been overshadowed now by the Quest, but if you're very new to VR and you just want to test the water a little bit, Go is a great headset.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Also, if you just want to use it for watching media, like amazing headset for that.
Yeah, there's no other headset you need to watch media with. It's the best one to go for in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Price-wise as well.
Yeah, definitely. So $149 for the 32 gigabyte Oculus Go. Wow. Talking about the Quest, sadly, there's no price reduction for the Quest. Obviously, due to its like massive popularity right now, Oculus feel like they don't need to, which is completely understandable. However, there is a good deal on that. If you buy a Quest between now and the 31st of January, you'll get the complete Vader Immortal series for free, which I think is a nice little touch.
Yeah, no, I think the price reflects the headset in this case.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I also don't think they can skim off that much more of that price for the Oculus Quest in order just to keep it reasonable.
No, exactly. So that's the Quest. Moving on to HTC. Sadly, no hardware deals from HTC. However, their Viveport Infinity service does have a Black Friday deal, whereby if you sign up during the Black Friday period, you'll get 45% off the service. So it'll cost you $4.99 in US dollars or $4.99 in British pounds a month when you sign up for a year, which I think is pretty good when you consider the huge library of classic VR titles available, such as like Superhot and Windlands 2, for example. So
no, I think it's worth considering their subscription for sure.
Yeah, I think if you're a VR veteran and you've probably invested a lot of money already into Steam or Oculus, you probably can let that one slide.
Yeah,
but if you're just buying a headset and this is a great way to play a lot of the great back catalog. It also works with Rift S, Valve Index, and Windows MR headsets, so you don't have to own a Vive specifically to take advantage of this.
Also 3D head?
Sadly, not supported. Don't know why though. Popular headset. So
okay.
Yeah. I do like because the trailer also shows Rikard, but if I'm correct, he stepped down, I think roughly a week ago.
Oh, talk about blowing the story before I even talk about
it. Rowdy, what are you doing? No, what did we say up front in this podcast? You were not going to mention this until Mike would give you the sign.
You're supposed to warm them up first, Rowdy. Then
he wants
to ease them in. You're just plowing straight into it.
Apparently he wants to be the host. Okay, Rowdy, come on.
And cancel the stream.
So yeah, I'll be talking more about Rikard from HTC shortly.
Thanks. Yeah. Sure.
Final PSVR Black Friday deals are PSVR deals. These are some of the best ones.
These are always the best ones. With Christmas, like PlayStation is
killing it. Yeah. So Target in the US, they're running an incredible deal that includes the PSVR headset, PS camera, and 5 games. So you'll still need to use your DualShock controller for these games, but still great deal. The games include Astrobot, Resident Evil 7, Skyrim VR, PlayStation VR Worlds, and Everybody's Golf. And guess how much that is? $199 US. That is an incredible deal.
It's like the thing with these bundles is always like the person who's bundling it knows what people want. Well, with other VR headsets, it's usually there's always something in there that's like super random and it has nothing to do with the rest of those games. But here, it's always like they just know what they.
Yeah, like I would buy that just for Astrobot alone at that price. Like it's well worth it. Like that game is so incredible. But that $200, that's $100 off the regular retail price. So that's a really good deal.
And that's typical PlayStation again.
Yeah, there is another good deal that does include the Move controllers. So you get everything that I mentioned before, plus the Move controllers, and it comes with 2 games, Blood and Truth, which is still one of my best games of 2019 VR games. I think it's a fantastic game, and Everybody's Golf. And that deal is $249. So you get the Move controllers, less games, but a really solid one with Blood and Truth.
Yeah.
Well, I agree that PlayStation VR, once again, it's no surprise anymore that they won Black Friday, and I think that when Christmas arrives, they are also going to nail it.
How many years in a row have they won it already?
They win.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other great thing is as well, if you're worried about investing in PSVR because of the new console coming, like we've said on the podcast before, this headset, the current gen headset, will be compatible with the next gen console. So you don't need to worry about investing your money into something that's going to be obsolete, for example.
I think it's a good moment to pick up a PSVR if you want to.
And it's a good point what NimSony in the chat makes as well. You got to put at least one game that nobody knows of, because then it expands what people do know about, which is a very, very good remark.
Yeah.
That's true. And everybody's golf, like I probably wouldn't ever normally play that game, but if it came bundled with it, I'd give it a go for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the Black Friday deals.
Wow, you have blessed our wallets.
Yes, or not.
Yeah, or not. Yeah, that's
it might
true.
be.
Yeah.
The next bit of news is about Live. Now, if you've never heard of Live before,
Live who?
They're the team behind the original viral video of Beat Saber being played in mixed reality.
Video.
Yeah.
The one that started off the VR revolution.
Yeah.
In terms of entertainment.
Featuring a good friend of ours.
Yeah, Swan VR. She's actually the girl that was playing Beat Saber in that viral video. You can follow her on Twitter. She does all sorts of mixed reality stuff as well and stuff in the VR industry. But yeah, with Live, you can use this software at home to create content like this yourself. And to make things even better, it's free. And it always has been free, which is amazing. But Live announced that this week that they've secured $2.6 million in funding from Hero Capital. And they, Live, they're always looking to push the boundaries to provide the best way to stream and produce VR gameplay in mixed reality. And I think the great thing about mixed reality trailers and gameplay is that for someone that maybe has never tried VR before, you can watch a video or trailer that's got mixed reality capture in it and really understand straight away that player is in the virtual world. And I think that
makes sense then. And I think that kind of pushed Oculus as well into making like the kind of trailers that they're making now with
Absolutely.
like, the guy who plays Reality to be in there and to have the people actually like fly around there. I mean, that's like next level, but that's truly how it kind of feels.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say that they were setting trends back then, and now they have an avatar system. So even if you don't have a full green screen setup and in like lighting and a camera, you can still achieve some incredible mixed reality gameplay just by using an avatar for live streaming or uploading. Like we've seen,
they start getting into the VTuber.
Exactly, and that's big business. And we've seen like popular Beat Saber channels, for example, where it's just an avatar. You never see the actual person, so it's kind of interesting. But
mostly they're avatars with like very short skirts.
That is true. That is true.
And the big,
big shoes.
Assets.
Big shoes. Big shoes. Yeah, exactly.
But Live founder AJ, aka Dr. Doom, he talked about the investment and he said that our mission to connect game developers, streamers, and audiences to create the very best of VR spectator experiences. We are now in full swing with hundreds of VR games integrated, with thousands of VR streamers and billions of views to date of Live-powered game streams on Twitch, Mixer, and YouTube. Our next releases will add dynamic lighting, progression systems, and other cool features such as the Live Play platform becomes a massive scale MMO for live gaming spectatorship. We are obsessed with creating shared hybrid game experiences where audiences play an integral role in the success of the streamer's game. So they talked about this a while ago to me when I met up with them. And they were saying that, for example, on Twitch, a Beat Saber streamer could be playing the game, and then the viewers could use bits to pay for a custom message that pops up in the game or a custom cube that gets spawned.
Very smart.
So they're really
converting pancake entertainment into
something really interactive.
They're really
for
pushing the envelope on
welcome.
That one there, because I mean, I still think it's the best way of watching virtual reality just in general. The only thing that is like that makes it for me at least harder is that often when I'm recording, I'm just a single person, so you only get like one single static camera. It would be neat if there would be like some kind of like, I mean, they do have like some rolling cameras and that kind of stuff in there. But yeah, I'm very interested in like what they're gonna do next, especially with the dynamic lighting, because that's really gonna take it to the next level, I think. So yeah.
I heard that Dr. Doom just bought a new house, and it's a ginormous vault with a $sign on it, and it's very similar to the one where Max Scrooge is living in, but it's a bit more shiny, I heard.
Well, you can visit it. They live in Prague now, not too far from the Beat Saber developers, actually, Beat Games. So if you're ever in the Prague area, you can swing by and see
it. Well, if that's his house, then it's not hard to find. It's just on it's on a mountain in Prague somewhere.
There you go. Yeah. So huge congratulations to the Live team.
Yeah,
if you're interested in checking the Live out, by the way, like I said, it's free and it's available on Steam. Just be aware that Live Capture only generally works with Steam games, doesn't work with Oculus titles, sadly. Right. Next bit of news is about one of our community members, longtime supporters, and he's in the chat right now, famous celebrity now. It is NimSony.
Oh, NimSony, yeah.
Yeah. He was actually on the show, believe it or not, a long time ago.
That's right.
Because we were talking to him about some of his crazy VR adaptations of like Sonic the Hedgehog, Mario, and Spider-Man VR, which he's brought to life and sort of shares on his YouTube channel. But recently, NimSony teased that he was working with, on a big partnership with a studio, and he sort of mentioned it in the chat. And then finally, this week, that he's going to be working as part of the Ubisoft VR team. So he's going to be moving to Germany, where he's likely going to be working on VR versions of Assassin's Creed or Splinter Cell, which is totally awesome. So I'm super happy. So I just wanted to sort of congratulate him. So congratulations to NimSony.
From all of us.
Give him a little round of applause in the chat. But the great thing is, if you're a fan of his sort of crazy VR experiments and you follow his channel, don't worry, because he's going to be continuing to work on these little side projects as well. So that's part of his contract that he made sure.
So now we have an impact on what we get next year. So it's like, hey, listen, just make Splinter Cell VR, just make it, come on, and do this and that. Yeah. And Raving Rabbits in VR, just saying, if you can tell everyone like Nathie wants Raving Rabbits in VR, that would be nice.
There you go. So congratulations again to NimSony in the chat.
That's great news.
Looking forward to whatever you work on. It's going to be awesome, I'm sure.
So Mike, if you could choose a studio to work for, what would it be?
Oh, it's a really good question. It is a really good question.
I do think that Ubisoft is a great choice if you're a VR developer, because they have made quite a few good things in virtual reality.
And that was the one that instantly came to mind, because I'm such a huge fan of The Division. And I was going to say EA, because I'm a fan of Jedi Fallen Order right now, but EA doesn't really have a particularly good past. So maybe then Valve, like that would be incredible. Imagine working for Valve.
Okay.
That would be great.
Valve. And what about Rowdy?
Well, I think Valve is just a great company to work at, even if you're not into VR or even in gaming, because they do so much out of the box as well. Even like I could maybe even get a job there as a neuroscientist. Who knows? Like that, or I don't know. Maybe even Facebook. I think that would be very interesting to work there as well, just because you have like kind of unlimited kind of resources, working on virtuality, very novel. I think I would like that.
Yeah, I like, you could be the community manager of Oculus Quest, I think.
Plus, if you work at Oculus, you work at Facebook.
True.
Near San Francisco.
So you work for you work for two companies. You can say like on one time you can say I work for Oculus, and the next time I work for Facebook. There are not that many companies where you can just use all kinds of names to.
And the campus there, having visited it, like it is
free ice cream.
Yeah. Anything
free dentist.
Food. They're working on brain-computer interfaces, and I got some experience for that. Like,
there you go.
Facebook,
hit me up, Facebook.
Otherwise, he's going to Canada, so snap him up quickly.
Yeah. If I could make a choice, I would go for Remedy.
Oh yeah, good choice.
Yeah, good choice.
Yeah. Have you played Control?
And I love Scandinavia too. No, I still have to play it.
Oh, I finished it.
Rowdy was very.
That's.
Very
I don't think I can work there anymore after saying that I didn't play it.
That's true.
Dang it.
Maybe I could get a job there because I look like Max Payne.
Yeah, the one in 3. Yeah. If you put like a
Hawaiian shirt on.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. You have a cosplay outfit too now.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Remedy. Yeah. Look forward to the contract. So, final bit of news, the one that Rowdy sort of blew the top on a little bit.
Yeah.
Let Rowdy tell it. Let just Rowdy tell it. He can
No. Don't do that to me.
Yeah, so final bit of news this week is that Rikard Steibard, the president of HTC's Viveport team and vice president of virtual reality at HTC, is leaving the company. Now, he was kind of responsible for like Viveport, like we mentioned in the Black Friday deals. Viveport is kind of like this monthly subscription service. So a bit like the Netflix of VR games, basically. That was kind of like his little baby. But recently he announced that he's stepping down. He said to Forbes magazine about the announcement, Viveport Infinity is having incredible positive momentum with new top-rated content, great product, and new subscriber records daily. I'm not so sure about that, like if it's like super popular, but we'll go with it.
Again, like we don't know which market he's talking about. Maybe in the
True.
Asian market, it is very popular.
Very good point. Very good point. However, as HTC is now entering a new chapter, I have agreed with Yves, who's the new HTC CEO, that it is a great time for me to move on and take on a new challenge after almost 4 years at HTC Vive. I'll go on garden leave today until my contract ends early next year. It has been my honor to work with an incredibly talented team in building Viveport into a global destination for VR experiences in 60+ markets. I'm especially proud of our Infinity subscription, the world's first Netflix of VR, cross-platform VR subscription business.
What kind of leave is he going?
Garden leave. So basically that means that
garden leave. That's actually
gardening leave. Yeah. Well, they refer to that term basically where you leave the company, but your contract isn't expired yet. So basically his contract isn't expired until early next year, but basically he just gets to sit at home. He can't work for another company in that period. So they call it gardening leave.
Okay.
You never heard that term before?
No. But
Yeah, okay.
of course I'm not English, so maybe
True.
that's why.
Yeah.
I thought you misspoke there, or I misheard. Gardening leave?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. So according to his statement, he just left. So there is no question that he got fired in any way.
No.
So he just left. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't
Although
think he got
where he
fired.
says here that, it's HTC are entering a new chapter, I would totally agree with that they're entering a new chapter right now.
Well, let's say it doesn't sound good for a person to say you got fired. So making it, let's say, more beautiful than it is would work in your favor. Something that I do think it's gonna suffer from that he left is that he was running, and this sounds weird because that's not his task at all, not his job description, but he was doing a big part of the marketing for Viveport, for HTC. If you are part of a couple of Facebook groups, he was constantly posting there, Viveport this, Viveport that. That wasn't his job to do, but he did. So he was doing more than.
And he was like really like the face of Viveport, right? Like he on a lot of conferences you saw him as well. A lot of developers were like, he was like the go-to point in order to get their game, at least shown there or like published there. So
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. But obviously we know that the Vive Cosmos had a very rocky launch, and pretty much no one's talking about it now, which is a missed opportunity from HTC, I think. But I think.
Well, you just did, so now it's.
Well,
sales are going up.
I think either way, we wish him the best of luck for the future, and it'll be interesting to see if he continues his journey in VR in future roles with other companies. I think that.
And when I spoke to him after OC6, he was genuinely, excited over Viveport. He believed in it. He knew what he was talking about. So he wasn't just, someone in the industry. He really believes in it.
I mean, we've said that already a couple of times, that it is a very nice kind of concept, right?
Yeah.
It is.
So that is the news. So now that Nathie's had a little swig from his Star Wars Porg mug.
Yeah, here.
He's ready to deliver the latest releases for you to look forward to next week. So are we going to have one that we shouldn't play this week, or is this going to be all stuff we should?
There is one that could be one that you might want to play or you might not want to play, but it's not crazy bad in any way.
I know you enjoy those ones.
I do, but I wanted to keep it short this time because Half-Life Alyx is very important in this show, and also Oculus Link, so stay tuned for that. Juicy topics. But I wanted to kind of keep it short so we have more time to talk about the hype stuff.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so the first one is Espire 1 VR operative. So on Steam and also the PlayStation VR store and Oculus, they say that this is the definitive VR stealth experience. Espire 1 brings the stealth genre to the exciting medium of, you guessed it, virtual reality, delivering gameplay mechanics for the stealth and action genres that have yet to be explored. And it let's say it lends a lot from GoldenEye and also Splinter Cell, maybe a few others too. I thought it was a very exciting game to play, unique. It took a while for it to launch. Now it's finally out, and I do think it did lightly suffer from the fact it got delayed a couple of times. There are folks out there now who were excited for Espire 1, but don't know it's out now because they just moved on to something else. But if you do buy Espire 1, you do get a free game with that, Killing Floor. And the Killing Floor is a zombie shooter, a great co-op experience too, by the way.
Very good, cool game.
And yes, you can play this one on Steam, on all the PC VR headsets. You can play it on Oculus Quest 2. It's a native, like nowadays we need to say that it's a native Oculus Quest game, but you can also play it with Link. It's up to you, possibilities are endless nowadays. And you can also play it on PlayStation VR. And as I said, it has mixed reviews. So just check out what people are saying and then make a decision if you want to get it or not. But
I think you made a really good point there that if you're going to buy it for Quest, make sure you buy the Rift version because you get Killing Floor Incursion for free, which is a Rift game, because it's cross-buy with Rift and Quest. So
win-win.
It is win-win.
Yeah, that's very smart. Very smart. So that's Espire 1. But I gotta say, the team worked very hard on this title, and it seems to be a title, even that it does have some bugs. It's not a complete, let's say, shit show. We have seen that with, for example, what's the game called again?
Defector.
Also, budget cuts. That's what I wanted to say. But Defector was also one. But Defector was okay in a way. Content-wise, it wasn't that interesting. But budget cuts had a lot of bugs that were just game-breaking. And here, they aren't completely game-breaking. You can still play it and enjoy it. So
it'll probably get ironed out over the weeks anyway.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to playing it next week. It's on my list of games to play.
Yes. So then we have A Fisherman's Tale. And this one is coming out next week. And I think it was on the 27th of November, or was it 29th? I'm not completely sure. I didn't mark it down anywhere. So I'm making a guess, but it's one of the two for sure.
You're getting sacked
I'm getting
as releases.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm acting like I know what I'm talking about right now. So Fisherman's Tale is a game that already came out before, but now it's coming to Quest.
Mm-hmm.
And on their store page, they say, bend and twist reality in a Fisherman's Tale, the mind-bending VR puzzle adventure game in which being turned upside down and inside out is not merely a play on words. And that is true. It's an Inception title, one that is going to make your brain explode.
It is a really great game that, again, for me, like, it's one of those games that, like, kind of only makes sense in virtual reality, or at least becomes really cool in virtual reality. I think it's really well done, I think.
Yeah, one of the best puzzle games that you can get on Quest.
Yeah.
So Hussein says Nathie needs a garden leave too. Thank you. That's what I also wanted to say. So don't blame me on this weird ass way of doing releases.
Do you even have a garden?
A garden?
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to see my garden. That's it's very disappointing. So, moving on to the last one, and this is the one that, as I said, could be something that for some is going to be a ridiculous title, for others the most amazing thing they have ever heard of. And it's called, you want to make a guess, Mike?
No.
No? Okay. Well, it's called Party Pumper. What do you think this game is going to be all about, Mike? What do you think?
You have to pump up the jam at the parties.
I was about to say the same thing.
Pretty close. So, born in the vibrations of music, Party Pumper is a game about parties and for parties. And the player's goal is to entertain the audience with the help of rhythm from mixes of music samples. Combine them with dance movements and fun party gadgets to interact with partygoers, and that's about it. So, it's a party game. It's to party with other people. Yeah. So it doesn't sound that bad, right? It's a fun concept, I would say.
Should we look forward to a video of you playing this game on the channel next week?
No comment. No comment. But it is, it is definitely something new, something different. As I said, there's so many rhythm titles out there now that do exactly the same thing. So this is
The trailer is really weird. I mean, there's some really. Did you see like there's some fat guy who comes on the stage with like a bag over his head, and he starts doing a Fortnite dance, and then he like gets grabbed by the guy and he gets thrown into the audience. Interesting game mechanics. Do you need to do that on the rhythm too?
These are the quality titles that we recommend on the show.
Yeah. So there you have it. Those are the only releases that I got, and I promise I will do better next time. Also, in the chat, I see someone say, "Hey, there are a lot of people watching right now. Thank you, by the way, for listening to our show and watching it. We totally appreciate it. But it would be nice if you also give us a big thumbs up. Let's us know you care." So there you have it. Releases.
Nice. Cool. Well, now it's time. The time that we've all been waiting for many years, to talk about, of course, the next big game, and that is Half-Life Alyx. Like I still, like I said at the beginning, it's crazy. Like,
it feels unreal, right? Especially because we joked about it so much. Like every time we had like some kind of triggered discussions, like, oh, if there's one Half-Life game that you would like to see, which one would it be? And I would always say like Half-Life, and it became like a little bit of a joke. But it's like it's weird that it's actually happened, or it is weird. It's going to happen.
Yeah, it feels very strange talking about it in a serious way. But like I say, what a time to be alive, that like we're going to be getting another Half-Life game after waiting over 12 years since Half-Life Episode II. That left on a big cliffhanger, of course. This doesn't seem like it's going to be answering any of the questions that was left on that cliffhanger. And I'll talk more about where the sort of game sits in a minute in the series. But if you weren't around like to see it all unfold this week, let me sort of like take you back to where it all started. And that was on Monday when these rumors started floating around Twitter. PCgamer.com were talking about this like Half-Life VR game. And just like most of these rumors, because we've seen these rumors so many freaking times before. Exactly. I was just like, yeah, whatever. Like this is never going to happen.
You don't pay attention to it anymore, right?
I said like you just become numb to these after a while because we've talked about Half-Life rumors on this show at least maybe 3 or 4 times that never obviously came to fruition. So I was just kind of like, I didn't really believe it, kind of ignored it, posted it anyway, kind of said it would be nice if it was true. And then lo and behold, later that day, Valve created this brand new Twitter account and tweeted out that we're excited to unveil Half-Life Alyx, our flagship VR game. And this Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, you'll get to see more.
And the Twitter account did exist already, though. I think it was made in June or something, I believe. So it was just like a very small Twitter account. It didn't have a lot of following. So I do believe it already existed. It got created somewhere in 2019, but I don't know exactly when.
Okay. That's worth knowing. But after this announcement, of course, like the whole internet basically had a meltdown. Some people like us were like over the moon ecstatic about the game being a VR game. Like we couldn't be any more excited. Other people were absolutely livid.
Angry.
And it's so interesting to see this like huge divide in opinions about this game. It's fascinating. And I think you've got some comments, right, Nathie, of like some of the reactions to this.
Yeah, you wanna kick off with that now?
Go for it, yeah.
Okay, here we go. So these are reactions that people left on, as far as I know, Steam, because you usually have discussions, right? Where you can, well, tell what you feel.
Yeah.
So okay, let's start with this one. I don't have the names, and I also don't want to expose anyone here.
Sure.
But so this person says, why should I swing my arms around in the living room for no reason when I already have the ability to run it on a monitor and can control my movements with just a mouse and a keyboard? It is like playing Wii, but for PC, and isn't appealing in the slightest.
Like playing Wii for PC.
Okay, next up we have What Trash? This is not the successor to Half-Life we wanted. This looks like a giant publicity stunt on Valve's part trying to bring people back to Steam. And monitor goggles only? Ugh. Monitor goggles. This game is a joke. A VR-only Half-Life game? What is this trash? You probably spend more for development than what you will earn from this. Into the trash it goes. 1% of Steam. Thanks, Gaben, for creating exactly what the fans haven't been asking for over a decade. Let me do one more.
Sure.
Let me see. So this one is quite funny too.
The weird thing is actually that, like Valve has always been this company that's like, pushing the boundary of like PC gaming just in general, and then people get angry because they're kind of again pushing the boundary of what they see as the future of PC gaming. It's weird.
Yeah. So this one is having the title, "This is not funny anymore, Valve. Just stop it. This game should be not only for VR. It is as cruel as possible. I waited 12 years to get spit in the face. Why even I live at this point."
Wow.
It's getting very dramatic.
I do want to read out one more tweet that came from. It's just like a general consensus. It came from Anton Hand, the developer from H3 VR, which I think like kind of hits the nail on the head, because I mean he has a very like strong opinion about like virtual reality and gaming in general, but I think he's banging the money with this one. He says in a tweet, hot take, what VR skeptic gamers don't seem to get is this is the natural evolution of the first person shooter. I'm sorry, but the genre is just better in VR, full stop. It takes everything that was amazing about PC first person shooters and arcade light gun games of old and combines them. Can you do everything in a VR first person shooter that you can do in a pancake one? No, not without an iron stomach. But for every way in which traversal has had to be tamed, object manipulation, tactical parallel equipment use, and micro-mechanical complexity has exploded. This is the future of shooters. Once you've ducked behind a corner, grab the mag off your chest, use it to smash your empty mag out by slamming the mag release pedal with your fresh, and then slammed it home. Pressing the R key, I don't know, it just feels kind of silly. The feeling of laying on your stomach with a bipoded rifle with a 32 times scope, taking a breath to steady your hand and head, and landing a shot on a target a kilometer away with realistic bullet drop, nothing on a monitor compares. And he goes on, racking a shotgun from the fore like Sarah Connor, spin cocking a lever action shotgun like the T800, even the experience of blind firing an SMG around a corner, or holding an agent back with a riot shield while you desperately try to reload one-handed. It is wild. And I think that just summarizes it. That's what virtual reality is about, and that's the kind of future that Valve sees as well. And disagreeing with that just feels kind of pointless.
I think a lot of this negativity definitely comes from people that haven't tried that much of VR before, particularly high-end VR, like PC-based VR. And even like Angry Joe, someone that's kind of fairly well-versed in the gaming scene and also has tried VR before, it was clear from when he was talking about his experiences with VR that he didn't really have all the facts or the information. And I just think that once this game drops, I think people will open their minds a little bit more as to what's possible.
Right. If they tried it, of course. If they just continue talking about it and they don't. Yeah. But I do want to say that this group is getting put into a corner where it's like they're all angry. Some people are angry because they simply do not have the money to buy a VR headset and a VR-ready PC. Can you blame those people? No,
of course
they're
not.
Disappointed. Then you have a group that, said VR is dead, VR is a gimmick, blah, blah, blah. And now they realize that they have to buy a headset, and that sucks. And they are like, this is,
Yeah.
and that's the thing, and there are also people who tried VR and had this classic experience of like, oh, I went into a roller coaster standing, and that's what VR is for me. So also some people suffer from or getting haunted by their first experience with VR that wasn't good, because a few years ago VR wasn't as great as it is now. So some people compare it with what they tried years ago with what's now out there. This is what you see here is VR maturing. This is the future of gaming. There is now a time coming where this can be pulled off because VR is ready for it.
Yeah, so, and it's also worth mentioning that this isn't anything new from Valve, like pushing the boundaries and having to buy new hardware to experience the latest Half-Life game. Because I remember the very first Half-Life, I had to go out and buy a new graphics card to play it because I couldn't play it on my system. And then the same happened again with the second one, because the second one introduced this like physics engine, which was very demanding on your graphics card and PC. So like buying new hardware to play the latest Half-Life game, I don't think is anything new, but maybe people just forget that.
Even software, because that's how they launched the entire Steam platform.
They did. You're right. Steam was a mandatory installation, and people were furious.
People pissed about that.
People were livid, and so like Valve aren't new to getting this kind of backlash from the community, but they know what works and what is the future. And
also, I think they care very little about that, because they don't need to. They're one of the few game companies that probably won't ever have to make a game again.
Yeah,
they don't have to. They're just doing it because they find it fun.
Yeah. Exactly. So that was kind of like the internet reaction.
The war.
Yeah, and then
Clash of Clans, the Clash of Cultures.
That was just the announcement.
That was just I told you this show was going to be long.
Yeah, and then Roll on Thursday, the new trailer dropped. And then, like, since then, this trailer's had 6.6 million views. Like,
have you ever seen a VR trailer get that many views?
Never.
In just a couple of days. We're not talking about even a week, and it has been on #1 trending on YouTube. I have never, ever in my 5-year VR career seen a trailer about a VR game on #1. And of course, I get it. Like, other games could never get close to that even, but still. And worth celebrating. There's so many small things that are happening this week that are worth celebrating, because it never happened in the VR scene before. I have never ever seen so many people on social media talk about virtual reality before.
And
we had seen it with Beat Saber, but it was nothing compared to what happened this week.
No. And nothing. Even though it's sometimes a little bit in a negative light, just the general exposure that virtual reality gets from this is enormous.
It just like I've never felt so small in this VR bubble than with this Half-Life game coming out. Suddenly there were more gamers that didn't own a VR headset talking about a game than anything I have ever seen. Usually when we talk on this show, we talk about Stormland, we talk about Vader Immortal Episode III, but the majority of gamers don't care because it's just a VR game and that's all. But now we can finally say like, hey.
And the perfect example of that is when I was at that YouTube event to do the interview, and I mentioned that it's virtual reality. The first thing that everyone who I talked to said to me, "Oh, virtual reality! Didn't Valve announce like a new Half-Life game for VR?"
I've seen people message me on my YouTube channel saying like, "Nathie, I have never seen this before," but there are places where people suddenly randomly say, "Hey, so there's this Half-Life game coming out. I need like a VR. What is a VR? And where can I get that? Because I want to play this." Yeah. And that's something that usually also happens in a little bit, but here it's like massive. Like I wish I could see the numbers. I wish I could see all those conversations around the world about Half-Life and the people that now bought a headset or are like, "Oh, if one of my friends buys a headset, maybe I should play it at his house," or whatever. There's so many things happening at this moment that are super exciting for VR and for gamers around the world, because Half-Life is not just for us VR enthusiasts. It's for everyone.
Yeah. So let's talk about the trailer then. What did you guys think about the trailer?
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's mind blowing, right? I mean,
oh my God.
Just the way. like the thing that Valve again does really well is like you look at this and you know the video footage is just so well picked. It's all I'm 100% sure that all of this is actual gameplay footage and it is actually recorded, but the way that it's like smoothed out and like the jitter of the head is gone, like the way that the head flicks, the way that they pick up the ammo, the flicking the side of the bucket, the picking up the ammo, everything about the trailer is just so well done again. The throwing of the ammo and then picking it up in the air and like cocking it in your gun.
Yeah, but imagine this is for a lot of people. This is the first time they see VR gameplay in a trailer. Like usually when you see a Pancake title and you see a trailer of that, there's nothing that comes close to the interaction you see. This feels so alive that it translates so well to you personally, where you like when you see the trailer from the first shot, you know, this could be me and this could be the experience I'm in. And there are not many trailers, let's say in the 2D world, that can pull that off. It's very well made, very well made. It's like a movie, little movie trailer.
Brad Lynch in the chat says that even Chinese social media talked about it as well.
Yeah. Like the reach of it was insane. But I totally agree with you guys. I think the trailer did a great job of getting people like hyped for this game. You know, it had head crabs, which completely made me jump when I watched the trailer for the first time.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how terrifying that's going to be in VR. Like I've only I had a taste of it when I played the original Half-Life game in VR on the Quest recently. You know, like having a head crab actually jump at you.
That's also terrifying.
It's horrible.
And it just looks pixelated, but it's still.
Yeah, exactly.
But it shows very well what we've been saying so many times. Like, you know, the output that a VR game has in order to appeal to a mass audience, it needs to be good. You know, the thing that you want to show on a monitor, if that is great, then people will far more likely be saying, yeah, I kind of want to try it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and the trailer, you know, it had everything in it. It had combine soldiers, antlion, aliens, and that health station. Like I missed it the first time, but the health station in it where Alyx puts her hand in and they've got the needles going into it and it's making that like iconic like healing up sound. Oh, like it was amazing. And then like the gravity gloves as well, where you can kind of grab items from afar. Yeah. And I think it's great. Like the internet has now dubbed these gravity gloves. Not gravity,
but they're even if you look at the design of the gloves, they kind of look like Valve knuckles, right?
They do. Someone else mentioned that actually a side-by-side shot, and it's a smart design choice in that sense. But also on the gloves, you also see a health meter and an ammo counter, which is really impressive as well. So you don't have any of these like HUD elements, which a lot of VR games use. And we've been talking about it on the show for so long now. Like, get rid of these HUD elements. They're so kind of like immersion breaking. And unless they're in context with the game, like Iron Man, for example, then I can kind of understand.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's something that I said on Twitter as well. I think that Valve has paid very close attention to like just the VR scene in general, to what all of the indie developers were like testing and trying, because you see so many of the things that worked really well that have been found by other virtual reality developers, like for example Anton, like for example what they did with Onward, Windlands, you know, all these kind of like small indie games or like smaller games that have all been like picked and customized and like took certain things that worked very well and then implement that in their game. And I think that's just, I mean, this is a celebration for all of the VR community and all of the VR developers who have all contributed in some kind of way or form to this. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what the VR developers hope is that it's gonna change the ecosystem. It's gonna bump that up. And especially for Valve Index, this was a great boost because, you know, as far as I know, me owning a Valve Index, I haven't played much that was that interesting and that was really pushing my Valve knuckles to, you know, the true potential they have. But this shows that, wow, hey, I'm happy I invested into a Valve Index.
Yeah,
that's
same.
That's for sure.
But since the trailer, we've obviously learned a lot more about the game. Jeff Keighley from the Game Awards, he did a really great interview with the team that's been working on the game. And apparently they've had a team of about 50 people working on this game for years behind the scenes.
We always thought we're like just a few people. Like, oh yeah, you know what? This is going to come out in the next 20 years, whatever.
Exactly. In terms of the story itself, it's set between the events of the original Half-Life game and Half-Life 2. It takes place in City 17. you obviously take the role of Alyx Vance. And her father, Eli, have been secretly mounting a resistance to the brutal occupation of Earth by the Combine and these mysterious invading aliens. Now, according to Jeff, the game will take you around 15 hours to complete, which I think is the same length as Half-Life 2, which is really great to hear, because I know a lot of the early sort of skepticism from the community was that it's just going to be kind of a tech demo, like
a little bit of
demo.
a VR experience.
Yeah, but this is a full fat VR game, that you can really sink your teeth into, which is great to hear. To make things even better, which I think is
can it get even better?
Well, this
is already pretty good, right? Pretty good
VR standards. But this gets even better, and that is because Valve have opened up the game to the community. A set of Source 2 tools for building new levels will be available for the game, enabling any player to build and contribute new environments for the community to enjoy. Now, Hammer, which is a Valve tool, has been updated with all the game's virtual reality gameplay tools and components, and will be available as well. But if you think about it, like way back when original Half-Life came out, like Counter-Strike, which is, of course, like this hugely successful game available now, that started off as a Half-Life mod. So I can't even imagine. Also,
Gmod is just a game on itself. That's and I heard it took a while for them to get everything in there. Not only took it took them years to make this Half-Life game, but also this level editor with that, and that means that people can build their own stories too. They can build their own game modes. Hopefully, we're going to see multiplayer. We're going to see Trouble in Terrorist Town. We're going to see Prop Hunt. We're going to see these classic modes. Maybe someone is going to build a little bit of Team Fortress in VR and a little bit of Portal. There's so much creativity that can be,
and it's so
unlocked.
smart for them to do this, is to open it up for the community to see what they want to build, what they want to make. And with this engine, as you can see from the trailer, it looks beautiful.
So we're going to see more games getting out of this. So it's just going to split off to even more like a proper game. Like someone could build a proper game out of this game.
And I almost guarantee that someone out there is going to rebuild the original Half-Life and Half-Life 2 in the Source 2 engine, so you can play those in VR as well. And I can just imagine in 20 years' time, like looking back and just seeing like this is how it all began, like this is how it all went kind of crazy. I can just see it in my mind. But although, like you mentioned, Nathie, the game will probably be best played on Index. It can also be played on a normal Vive or a Rift or a Rift S or Windows mixed reality headsets as well, which they made clear at the end of the trailer. So that's really
I think that's such a cool move. Like you can say whatever you want, like, oh yeah, we already expected Valve to do that. They didn't have to. They didn't have to do it. They could have said like, listen, Valve Index, and then you need to hack into it yourself, and that's it. But
also,
I think it's super generous. It's so generous.
Also, the website that they made for it looked bloody amazing with like the parallax effects. I'm going through it now as well so that the viewers can see it, but it's like they had this like parallax effect where you can like see like the walls and like the things like appearing in the distance and in front of you. Really well done and really nicely done, and it also like it highlights like certain things that like people are probably wondering, like what kind of mechanics are in here, what kind of locomotion features, what kind of like what headsets does it support, and all these kind of things. So all the valuable information was actually on the website as well, and very well constructed, very nicely made.
And Jeff Keighley actually said that you can play the game seated using teleportation. You can, but obviously he said that the best way to play is of course standing up and being able to move around freely. And he said that he was like lying on the floor at points and doing all these crazy sort of movements in VR, which is great. But of course, you're going to need a beefy PC to play this. That's going to be a given.
Yeah.
Like the minimum specs that they provided, these are minimum, is that you're going to need a Core i5 7500. Or Ryzen 5 1600, you're going to need 12 gigabytes of RAM.
I don't even know of any other game that has ever asked for 12 gigabytes of RAM, because that's massive. I mean,
that's crazy.
We probably all have that because we're used to it, like using like a lot of resources for like editing and kind of stuff.
But 12, like most people like have 8 or maybe a little bit more, but there are so many people that figured out like, oh dang, I don't have enough RAM for this.
Although like RAM is probably like the easiest thing to upgrade though.
Yeah, probably.
As long as you don't put like LED lights in it, they're pretty cheap. Yeah.
I think that's because of the physics. Like you said, when she brushes past all those items on the shelf, they all have their own physicality to it. So that's probably very sort of
And maybe
intensive.
no loading screens.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. In terms of graphics card, you're going to need a GTX 1060 or AMD RX 580 with 6 gigabytes of RAM. Minimum.
Yeah, we also have a tip from the chat from Paolo Triani. If you don't have enough RAM, just download some.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pro tip.
I do know for a fact that on Steam you can do this test if your computer is ready for the Valve Index. So that's something I would totally do.
Yeah.
And you can use that with. Well, it's not really. No, the headset doesn't even need to run. You just check your computer. That's all. Because the previous test they had, you had to, I think, hook up a headset and then you could test it. Or was that another? I don't know. It was like this Portal demo that showed up, but it wasn't. No, it wasn't in VR. It was just a flat
system checker. Yeah, same. Like you say, you don't need a. You could just test to see if your PC's ready. But what's the sort of general consensus in the chat? Like, are people? Obviously, I know we have a VR podcast, so most people are going to be very happy. But is there any sort of like, traditional gamers that maybe have popped in to say hi and have their opinion?
No, not really.
No, I haven't seen any. Most people just seem very excited. Although like the specs are like very heavy. I've seen that pop up quite a few times as well.
Because that's minimum as well. So if you think that's what you need, no, you need a little bit of more than that. Yeah. If you want to enjoy it to its full potential, or you want to play on low graphics, you want to play on potato graphics, then go for the minimum specs. Have fun.
I saw Sweeviver posting on Twitter about the fact that the game is going to be released and that you're going to be best played. On the Pimax 8KX.
Oh God!
And I was thinking, if this is the bare minimum playing a game on a regular like index, playing it on the Pimax, you're going to need like some sort of like Elon Musk supercomputer.
I also saw someone from Vario say like, "Oh, listen, we're just gonna make this run. We're just gonna make this run."
Imagine playing this on the Vario or the Pimax. It's going to look. But yeah, be prepared to sell a kidney.
Ideally, it would be like streaming it from Google Stadia, so you can run them there like specs, right?
Yeah, although
too bad latency is still a thing, right?
Yeah, they've been sort of dissing that quite heavily in the sort of media. But yeah, like I'm super hyped for it. I think it's going to be incredible. I think this is going to be an amazing thing for the VR industry.
Yes.
In general, and if this is their first game out of the 3 that they're
out of the 3, yeah.
Like Left 4 Dead would be my next big choice, but
something that has nothing to do with their IPs could be super fun too.
Like start a brand new IP that could be interesting.
Yeah, I think so.
So the game is available now for pre-order. It's going to be $60. However, if you own a Valve Index headset or controllers or full bundle, regardless of what you own, you'll get the game for free. And I noticed actually it's already in my Steam library.
And a couple of awesome bonuses. You get Steam VR environments. You get what was it, like a content pack for CS:GO?
Yeah.
And a skin or skins for Alyx, her weaponry. Yeah. Although it was kind of weird. I was like, yeah, but CS:GO is a pancake game. So thank you, Lord Gaben. I'm very happy you gave this to me, but I don't really play those types of games.
I actually played it yesterday, so I mean...
because of that.
I don't mind.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to say we haven't mentioned the release date yet, but it's coming out in March 2020, right?
Yes. Good point. One thing I just want to mention before we move on to Oculus Link is that some people, including myself, were kind of concerned about the fact that it's just kind of like hands rather than like full body, like without elbows and arms, like we've seen in Boneworks or like.
Yeah, but that was also a popular thing for the media to make articles about, just to kind of have some clicks while like floating hands. Ooh, this is bad.
But if you think about it, like Alyx is a woman. So if you're going to be looking down, it's going to be quite strange as a man playing a game looking down at a woman's body, maybe. So maybe that's the reason why they did it. But Alyx, she will be voicing the character as well. So there will be a lot of voice interactions between you.
She's still alive
and other characters.
Voice.
Yeah.
After so long.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, I think there's benefits and disadvantages to having like floating hands, because I find it very immersive breaking if for like whatever reason you get like this, like, this elbow that like starts popping in like the most strange directions, which inevitably will happen because that is not tracked in any way or form. It's never like a one-to-one to like your actual body. But yeah, of course, like having a full body in a game is always, if it's done properly, it is a major plus. I think.
If you look at Boneworks, you're like, whoa, having this body is just.
And I think that's the thing, like if you're hyped about Half-Life Alyx and you want to invest in a headset now, you've got Boneworks to look forward to as well, which is coming out on just the 10th of December. Which prior to Half-Life Alyx being announced, we were saying, well, that's going to be our Half-Life game in VR because it looks so similar in terms of the gameplay mechanics. So another great title to keep an eye out for. But I think, this game is really going to show the non-believers out there how awesome VR is. And I just can't wait for them all to jump on the hype train.
Yeah. And this is something I also said on my videos that, let's say you are, you have been in this vibe of, VR, it's just not great. And now it's hard to kind of get off that, like you're like, oh, dang it, now Half-Life is coming out in VR. And I like all of my friends still think I, don't like it and I don't want to, but we VR enthusiasts, we're happy to, show off virtual reality. We don't judge. So in the end, if you want to try VR, then, we're happy to do it. I think that when Half-Life Alyx launches, we're gonna see VR meetups hosted by VR enthusiasts, giving people the opportunity to get a glimpse of what it's like, because we can say whatever we want, but it's still quite expensive to get this all running. And of course, the headset is not the biggest problem. It's definitely the PC part that plays a big role, of course, in terms of money.
Yeah.
But there will be so many other ways you will be able to play this. Hopefully, Valve is going to work with Springboard and others to bring a license to arcade, so you can go to an arcade to pay some money to play it there. Or if you have friends, like maybe one of your friends is going to own one and you can try it there. So I do think that next to buying a headset just for this game, there are other options to be able to enjoy it, and that's great.
Being able to play a VR arcade would be a really big boost for the VR arcade industry as well. So I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is Half-Life Alyx. I can't believe
what a time to be alive. Like
Absolutely.
I feel like I've been sleeping for 5 years, and now suddenly it's like this is what I have been like working for so long, and then it's like I'm at the it really felt this week like I'm at the right spot right now. I'm so at the right spot right now. I feel like I am almost like responsible to preach this game to every gamer out there who still hasn't put a monitor goggle on their face.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's move on then. Second topic this week, and that is the Oculus Link. And really, the timing couldn't be any better because,
it's
with Half-Life Alyx being announced.
It's good advertising for Oculus Link too.
Yeah. You can now obviously play Half-Life Alyx.
Even the mainstream websites are talking about like, oh, so if you are excited for Half-Life Alyx, oh, there's Oculus Link with Quest. They did proper research and even mentioned that. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, I wonder, if there was some knowledge internally about what was going on either end, that this might happen to sort of time it right. But like the coincidence is uncanny. But yeah, so let's talk about Oculus Link. If you don't know what it is, it was first announced back at Oculus Connect 6 earlier this year. And they announced that it's going to be a free update to Quest and PC that will allow you to connect your Quest to a PC to enable you to play full PC VR content from both Oculus and Steam VR on your Quest, which is awesome. Something we've kind of been asking for and kind of hoping for since the Quest was like announced and released. If you're interested, you can get the update right now by updating your Quest to the latest version, which is update 11, and then installing the latest version of Oculus Home on PC, which is going to be version 1.43 or above. They'll work with the Oculus Link update. Yeah. So alongside the update, at OC6, Oculus also announced an official cable that they will be producing and selling. It's a 5-meter fiber optic cable, and they'll be releasing that by the end of this year, and it's going to be $80. 80, which sounds super expensive just for a cable.
Yeah, it does.
Like I've been testing a bucket load of cables out, and I think only 1 out of a dozen worked. So, but
could it be that when this cable finally launches, other manufacturers will be able to learn from that?
They said before that they were going to release the specs of it as well. So I think that other cable developers will probably jump on
all
that.
The cables right now that you buy are just not officially made for that. But I'm sure that someone will put it somewhere on a website. So like, okay, this cable's also good, and then you don't have to spend $80 basically.
Yeah, but they've already released the specs this week with the announcement, so they're out there already. But I think the issue is like because the cable is fiber optic to reduce the latency. It's expensive. And I think even for anyone to kind of replicate this and to have the same level of fidelity and latency within the VR experience that's being streamed from your PC to the Quest is going to be very difficult. So
like, don't underestimate the Chinese.
I don't know. There'll be some rip-off cables that you probably get burnt with for sure, but I think the official one is going to be your best bet.
Maybe now, $20 off the price, maybe with a. Is this like the ultimate price, or is it just a little bit overpriced?
I don't think they're making any money on this, dude. Seriously.
How much did you pay for the cable that did work?
So $20 is generally the price of the cable that does work. But then again, you got to remember that's only 3 meters, and 3 meters is very limiting. The key
You're just like next to your PC, like, hey, I'm playing VR.
Exactly. Like I couldn't even reach my play space. You
can't spin around. You need to spin around at least twice with a cable, right?
Exactly. And this 5 meter thing is definitely the key here, because if you look at these like really super high quality 5 meter cables, they're even more expensive than $80, some of them.
Oh wow.
So I think, you know, although it sounds expensive, that's going to be your best bet in the long term, I think. But like we say, this cable isn't released yet. It will be coming by the end of the year. So of course you can test out other random cables that see if they work in the meantime. Now there's a few cables that are kind of recommended. There is one from Anker, which is recommended by Oculus as the interim cable until
the power line, right?
Yeah, and then there's one that I've been testing myself called the Party Link.
With the party pumper?
The
party pumper cable, huh?
You can play Party Pumper on the Party Link.
Does it come with free brownies as well?
Sadly not.
Say that again. You can play Party Pumper using the Party Link cable. With your Party Quest, like.
So the Anker cable that is recommended by Oculus, it's 3 meters long and is USB-A to USB-C. So most people will be able to use that cable. The Party Link is also 3 meters, but is USB-C to USB-C and has a nice right angle connector at the headset end, which makes it a bit more comfortable.
So when it's USB-C on the other side, does that mean you need to have a motherboard with a USB-C, because that's sometimes not a thing for some, so that's good to maybe.
Exactly.
They're mentioning in the chat. They're mentioning in the chat that because it has USB-C cable, that it is also possible to use an active USB 3 extension cable with a USB-C cable end on the end.
I did see that. I do think that although it will work, I think you'll notice a bit of a difference.
Extending is usually with everything is
troublesome.
But,
and I think that although you probably don't notice it now, when you use the official cable, you'll notice the difference, I think, between the smoothness and the latency. But yeah, you're right. You'll need a USB-C port on your motherboard to use the Party Link. And when the official cable drops, it's only going to be USB-C. So now is a good time to start thinking, if you don't have a USB-C port, like maybe using a StarTech or Innotek PCIe USB-C adapter card or something similar. But what I did find that worked, which was super interesting, I didn't expect this to work, was with the Party Link. It actually works for me using the NVIDIA Virtual Link on my RTX 2080 Ti.
Okay. So there's finally a purpose for the Virtual Link again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow,
exactly.
Congratulations, Mike. Congratulations.
Yeah, it actually works. So if you have a newer series, 20 series graphics cards with that USB-C port on it, then you'll find that the USB-C cables will work with that, which is great.
That's good news.
But yeah, I have to say, having tested it, you know, both at Oculus Connect 6 with the official cable and at home with these third-party cables, like it works surprisingly well. You know, latency is great. Graphical fidelity in the Quest, like you've never, if you're used to playing just normal native Quest games and then you connect it to a PC and play a PC game, you're gonna have your mind blown. Like games look just so much better connected to a PC, right?
So now I'm gonna ask you a very hard question. I'm gonna be mean to you.
Sure.
So that sounds like this cable can easily compete with PC VR headsets.
Yeah.
So there's no reason in that sense to.
So there's a few caveats, because we get asked this question all the time, and these are the things you need to consider. Like having a native native PC-based headset, I think, will give you the slight edge. But I think even side by side, having compared them both side by side, the difference is so minimal that it's very hard to notice the difference. The main sort of drawbacks is the extra cost involved, because you're paying $80 for the official cable, which is really the only one I'd recommend when it actually releases.
It does bump up the price of your
Does
Quest.
bump up the price, yeah. Also, you're going to need to invest in some mods to make the Quest more comfortable for long-term use.
Yeah.
I
think that's the big one. I think that's because I just don't see the Quest as like the most comfortable headset.
It's not.
No.
Front heavy, and also I don't like it that the cable is on the side. Now I know that the Oculus Rift S has it as well, but you can still like kind of like model around, and I assume that you can do that with the Quest Link cable as well to like. But it's still
Link
it's
one from Oculus comes
more.
with cable management too.
It does. It does. You're right.
And you also need a VR ready PC, but it kind of depends. If you are someone who just dives into VR for the first time, then you might not even have a PC that is capable of VR. If you are
all
VR
of that
enthusiast,
aside,
then you.
All of that aside, if you could pick only one headset,
it would be the Quest, of course, any day, just because it can do both standalone and PC based.
That's same here. Same here.
But if you have zero interest in doing like standalone or taking your headset out, then save your money and just get a Rift S. Like, I know a lot of people are upset that bought a Rift S saying, "Oh, my headset's useless now." Well, it's still an amazing headset. Like, don't get me wrong. It's just that the Quest is really what it seems like Oculus are investing a lot of their time and money into right now, especially with the hand tracking update, which we know, or we don't know for sure, but we don't think is going to come to Rift S.
No, and also the content they are pushing is mainly Quest stuff. Of course, we have seen a few titles on PC VR, but those were around for many years now.
Yeah, but also you got to remember that, you know, with Quest, the refresh rate is locked to 72 hertz. Rift S is 80 hertz. So again, you don't really notice it, but it's just something to be aware of. So yeah, there are some things to consider there, but I would say
it's minor. It's very minor if you talk about it.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. Mike is leaving this planet right now.
Yeah. but just to reiterate what I said, the main considerations are price, because you have to pay the extra money, and comfort. They were the only two. But you know, I tested it out with Asgard's Wrath and Stormland, which are available on the Rift Store, and I also played Contractors, which is available on Steam. And you know, when you plug in the Quest to connect to Steam, it just shows up as a Rift S. So everything will work.
This headset is just killing it.
Yeah. But like you said, you need a PC to run VR in the first place.
Of course.
The only thing that you need to be aware of is that AMD graphics cards supported right now. Oculus are working with AMD to add more support during the beta period.
But that's indeed like that's like something that is like at the beginning you will have these kind of issues, but you know, as months go on, like these kind of issues will probably get ironed out, and you know, like the support will come from all of that for all of the graphic cards that most people use.
Yeah. So have you guys tried this out, or anyone in the chat tried this out that kind of want to chip in with their experience?
Let's see. I am just scrolling up a little bit here.
But I think personally, like for me, I think it'll be really interesting to see what impact this has on the wider PC VR community, like how this is going to affect sales of VR games on both the Rift platform and Steam VR. You know, I wonder if we're going to get a metric in the future in the Steam VR hardware surveys as to how many users are connecting their Quests to a PC VR content.
That's the only data we usually get. Valve's the only one that gives us at least a little bit of an insight on.
But if it gets recognized as a Rift S, do you think that is likely that will happen? That they'll be able to discern it?
Maybe not right away, but certainly it could be in the future. Like I think obviously because it's in beta right now, maybe that's just a way to get around it.
I saw some people in the chat also mentioning that IPD adjustment is also another thing that is a difference between the two, of course, being it digital on the Rift S. But
and also something I didn't mention was the fact that the Quest has OLED panels in it, which performs better in darker scenes, particularly like in games like Stormland, where you get a lot of dark scenes in there. The darker colors are much richer, whereas on the Rift S they can be a little bit washed out in comparison because it uses an LCD. But again, unless you were comparing the headsets side by side,
that's VR enthusiast talk we have here. If you're just a consumer, it's like
you don't
go buy an Oculus Quest, have fun, buy
exactly,
and that's it. Wow. Now this is again like next to Half-Life, Alyx, the Oculus Link. What else you can wish for is more VR games that are awesome. And besides that, I have nothing to really
Yeah.
And as you said, maybe the Quest is going to get an update, and I think it will in terms of comfort, because it can be easily fixed. If that's the only big thing that really holds it back, then we are very lucky.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think that is the only thing that is actually holding it a little bit back.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
What a week for Zim to be away.
It's poor Zim. He's been talking so much about Half-Life and then he decides to leave.
Yeah, he clearly doesn't care about the game. Clearly.
No.
Okay.
So right now we have a farm on our website, so you can sign up as new member of the.
We'll be conducting interviews next week.
Yes.
So you may have noticed, if you're a follower of the show, that we did say last week that we were going to talk about Nathie's experience.
Oh yeah, that's the sad part of this whole thing.
Obviously, with all the crazy stuff that happened this week, we delayed that, and we're going to be talking about that next week. So we're going to be talking about Nathie.
Hopefully, don't make any promises.
Don't do this again to me.
Unless you dare. Unless Valve drops like Left 4 Dead in VR or something like that. Then,
the orange box in VR.
Then we'll be talking about Nathie's experience at VR Days with the Varjo, which is a Retina display headset, and
treadmills,
the Pimax, unicorns,
unicorn rides, and a lot more. Yeah, exciting stuff as well.
So let's open it up then to some questions from the chat, and I'll give you a quick reminder of the show times and everything. So just a reminder, this is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can also actually watch this show in VR, wearing a VR headset.
In VR?
Yeah.
And that is next level.
With up to 8 people in a room watching this show on an epic big screen.
Hello, VR people.
Using big screen
wearing monitor goggles.
Yeah. So you're the real MVPs if you're watching this show in VR.
Yes.
The show goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, 12 midday in Central US. We also have an audio version to check out as well. So if you can't watch the show live, you can also listen to it on your commute. It's available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Spotify. So yeah, plenty of ways to enjoy the show.
Yes.
And
leave a like.
Slam a like on this video.
Slam a like on this video. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I also want to say, after so many episodes of this show, after talking about so many shovelware like Jumanji and Halo Recruit, this is such a blessing. I'm so happy. Yeah, it's a breath of fresh air. It's crazy. Where we're always like all the games we have covered so far, they were fun and they were great, and some of them were bad, but never on this level, right? No. Never on this level.
But I think that's been like a lot of the fun of this show, is like particularly like with Halo Recruit and some of those really bad VR experiences that we could just be completely honest about like what we feel about this. And I feel like a lot of the time we're kind of like the voice of the community. So, you know, if we say it's really bad, hopefully someone out there important is listening.
That's why we say it, because we want VR to get better. If we're like, oh, everything is awesome, then maybe Half-Life Alyx wouldn't have been. Someone actually said that on our Facebook. Yeah, we're on Facebook too. F.Reality Podcast. So someone said, hey, you guys have been talking so much about Half-Life that it must have triggered Valve.
Maybe. Like, if someone from Valve is watching, then I would be over the moon. That would be the most legit thing.
Just by them watching.
Just by them watching. Yeah, I would love that.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. It's a great time for us to finally.
Right now, Mike, you want to say something to Gabe? He's watching right now. I just heard it in my ear.
Thank you.
Okay. Look at that face when he says that.
So smug.
Yeah, I know. Can someone please put this on our Twitter?
Yeah.
That face of Mike saying thank you to
Lord Gaben. Yeah. So yeah, if you've got any questions out there, now's a great time before we wrap up the show and say goodbye. Yeah. But it's been a great episode. It's been so much fun talking about Half-Life.
Yeah.
Oculus Link, NimSony. Congratulations again. Black Friday deals. It's going to be an important few months ahead for the VR industry, and I'm super excited and privileged to be a part of it and sort of deliver this podcast every week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, true.
Same.
So,
Half-Life VR confirmed. Maybe that should become like the new meme. Half-Life VR confirmed.
Yeah. Something that is not in the chat, but I did see pop up this week is that apparently Virtual Desktop, who was the first one to figure out that you can stream to the Quest from your PC, said, and this is a bold statement, Guy Godin said that he's basically doing it better over a virtual connection than with Oculus Link. Of course, you need a fast internet connection, but besides that, he says that it looks better.
Yeah, he was actually saying that the cable only looks slightly better because it's got access to like asynchronous time warp and stuff like that, those kind of like smoothing elements. Whereas if he had an API that he could hook into wirelessly, then he could have access to that as well. But that's just not the case right now. So yeah, it's definitely interesting what he's doing. And I think, you know, if he can get that to work in a really solid
way, that's why it's a cable and not the thing. Yeah.
But this was always going to be the argument, because even if you can get it to work really well, you still need that 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi connection. To get that smooth interaction and latency in there. And that's why Oculus decided to go with a cable in the end, because they can almost guarantee the experience that way amongst the different users. So I understand it, but it'll be interesting to see in the future for sure.
Smackdog says, I had to turn off public test mode on Oculus app in order for Oculus Link to work. Just a shout out for troubleshooting. That's it's constantly changing.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very good point, actually. At the time the update released, you had to be on the public test channel, and now it says not to be. So yeah, something to be aware of.
Then Microflash says Portal 3 VR.
I would love
he's
that.
already like, he's like, you know, Half-Life Alyx, yeah, okay, whatever. Let's already talk about the next big thing. We can actually turn the Dead meme into a new meme with Portal or Left 4 Dead. So
I mean, come to think of it, like Valve always said, we have 3 VR games that we're working on. So I mean, it's not such a ridiculous thing. If they're making Half-Life in VR and it's like this kind of quality, like they showed in the trailer, the other 2 have to like be able to compete with that, right? Because otherwise,
and that's where we turn into the angry people.
If you think about it, the engine is already there. Like that must have been the hardest part, building the engine for it to work. So now it's a case of just building the games.
Yeah, that's true. Then we have Factory Life, who says Gamertag VR is doing a 24-hour live stream. That's maybe also worth giving a shout out to, and that's where we should maybe also end the show. I'm sure you're aware of that, Mike, that he's doing a stream now.
I was, he posted it in a sort of Twitter group. So if you want to go and check out and wish him luck, he's
for
doing
mental health as far now.
Yeah, a good charity. So 24-hour live stream in VR is really challenging. Like we've known people have done it before, but I don't think I'd ever personally do this myself.
He's still alive, just saying.
Well, I wish him the best of luck. So go and show your support on Gamertag VR's live stream. But thank you for everyone that's joined us on this live stream and
historical episode.
It's been awesome. Thank you as well to your listeners and those joining us in Big Screen TV. We'll be back on the show next week, and Zim will be back with us as well, where we'll be talking about more juicy VR topics, including Nathie's experience days. So until then, have a great week in VR. Take care, and bye-bye for now. See ya.
Bye-bye.